My name is Carina, and in this podcast, Break Fear, Find Freedom, I have conversations with people just like you who have broken their fear and found their freedom, whatever that may be. And shows you how to do the same. So sit back, relax, grab your coffee or your running shoes, whatever makes you happy, and let the fun begin. Oh, by the way, come take my hand and let's go. The door's opening now. Hello. So, what happens when you look in the mirror? Do you see yourself or do you see someone else? And what happens when you can't look at yourself in the mirror? How many times do you comb your hair or brush your teeth and not look at the mirror at all? So what is that? Confidence? Fear? I don't know. Let's see what Dino thinks. Hello, everyone. It's Carina from BreakFear and my awesome co-host, Dino. Hello, Dino. How are you today?
Hey, Carina. You're awful mind. Just a new subject. Just drop it on me. That's fine.
It's such fun.
Thank you very much.
So what is your take on mirrors?
Oh, what's my take on mirrors? I get where you're going with this. It's, you could look at a mirror and think right away vanity, and why you don't look in the mirror could be confidence, but it could be the opposite. It could be low self-esteem. You don't feel good about yourself. So what a subject. Congratulations, Carina. When I was in rehab and everybody was ready to coin out, they had to, present something to the class. And everybody was just like, hey, I'm going to, not that it's bad, but they're just, goodbye alcohol, goodbye drugs, and off to the, and I'm not really big, as you know, on reading or poems, but there was one that I remembered, and I don't know where, but it was called Man in the Glass. And it was, don't ask me who wrote it, even though I should know, but it's basically like, when you think that you've conquered the world and everybody's patting you on the back, don't forget that, the only person that you have to please is the reflection staring back at you. Right. And I think there's a lot of lessons in that. The first is that how, inherently we all want to be liked. And because of that, sometimes we'll do things to gain others' favorable perception of us than really ourselves, to the point where you could take this, let's say you become successful, and this happened to me. You become successful. Now, of course, I'm carrying on a 20 plus year addiction. And even though everybody's patting me on the back and everybody's giving me accolades, personally, there were times where I would stare at myself in the mirror, in the bathroom mirror. I didn't want to look at my bloated body, that's for sure. Right, right. But also something else was happening. I remember thinking to myself, what have I become? And it's kind of strange. I mean, everybody wants all the good things that success has to offer, but it's kind of a balancing act with the when you peel back the curtain and you sometimes show the ugly side of success. Yes. Are you following your own convictions, or are you following what you believe pleases the masses? Right? To the point where I could say, what have I become? Towards the end, it wasn't about me anymore. It was about them. And, that next clever saying that I could just, roll off the top of my head, or the amazing feat that everybody expects Dino to do. But what about me? I was kind of leaving myself behind. You see, you can't trip me for long, Carina. It just gives me a little time to get the theme of the show, and we're off. You obviously brought up this subject. What's on your mind?
Well, I've been thinking about it a lot I walk a lot, right? And a lot of times I see people, a lot of people are in their own worlds, either listening to music or whatever podcast, whatever they're listening to with earphones or whatever, and or on their phones. And I always wonder about how people really feel about themselves. And I've heard, for me, there was a time in my life where I wouldn't look at myself in the mirror because I didn't like what I saw.
Right.
It was my own perceptions, of course, because people say different things to you, but you see something totally different. And that's very sad. And, through work and whatever, and eventually it's like phases and you go through it. But a lot of people never get over that. And they hate themselves so much that they cannot look at themselves in the mirror. And I think that's so important to be able to just verbalize it and say, it's okay. It's okay, because we're all okay at the end of the day. But again, it's about the way you feel about yourself, and it's about being honest with yourself, really. Like you were saying, accolades, and it's really great. It's great to have accolades and for people to come to you and to say you're really good. But at the end of the day, if you can't look at yourself in the mirror and you can't sleep with yourself at night because you realize that you're lying to yourself, you're not committed to yourself, I think that's the very sad place to be.
Right. And it's true. And we do it all the time. I mean, just think, just for a moment, the gyms, right, where people go and work out, the health clubs, I call them gyms. I'm old. But, realize that it's a room made up by walls of mirrors, okay,
right,
to look at yourself. And you'll notice when you go to the gym, the only people that actually start doing workouts in front of the mirror are people that go every week, go frequently, every day, or, religiously. The people that just start, I notice, don't look in the mirror. They're always in the middle, in the center, away from their reflection. I get it. There's a lot of self-esteem issues associated with the topic of your show, to the vainest of, things, all the way to things that may include, am I doing this because I need the money? Am I working at this place because I need to provide for my family? Do I believe in the mission statement? Do I believe in my employer or the product or service that I'm selling, as an example? And you'll be surprised that most people, at least that I have come in contact with, don't feel that way, but they do it because it's a job. Right. And so that's why, to all entrepreneurs out there, to all people wanting to be entrepreneurs, or whatever your deal is, when you hear the thing, do something that you like, I mean, we use that term very loosely, but at the end of the day, it's just do something you're passionate about, do something that you're proud of. And even if you fail, if you've given it all you have and you were passionate about it and you have no regrets, you should be proud of yourself. You can look at yourself in the mirror, or refusing or declining a position or an offer. I got an offer 2 days ago from the same circle of people I left. On purpose, I left them because they're nowhere situation. It's just like their idea of the whole world is their little world.
Yes.
My world is a much bigger world, but they're like, hey, we got this great thing. If you get involved, not only can we help people, but we'll all be rich. I'm thinking to myself, I'm already rich. I don't do it for the money. I do it because I want to be able to contribute, and I want to feel good about what I do. And if I make money doing it, so be it. That's a side effect, but that's not my end goal, right?
I want to stop you for a minute. Sorry. You could have gone, you had this great opportunity, right? And you could have gone for it. You could have accepted it and said, cool, I'll accept it. But it would have just ruined everything for you And then you'd have that disconnect again where you'd say, well, I'm doing this for the money. I'm not doing it for me per se. So again, it's about your values and your mission for yourself and loving yourself enough to say no.
Yeah,
would you
and
say,
it's not just the money. I mean, keep in mind, okay, I created an empire and I left everything because I wanted better for myself. So I went and I got taken care of and I got better. I'm clean and sober. I'm firing on, if there were 20-cylinder engines, that's me right now. But these same people that remembered me at my low obviously still know that, I am me, and they're approaching me. Money aside, I could have fallen into the trap. Well, I want to show everybody. I want to show them that, I'm back. I want to show them that I'm good. I want to please them. I want to impress them. And that's the wrong attitude to have. I mean, look, on a daily basis, if I'm firing on all cylinders, I'm going to impress. I'm going to shock and awe. I'm going to do all of those things without even trying. And I'm not like me, look at me. Keep in mind, and I keep preaching this isn't everybody. You just have to tap into that, and you have to exercise that long enough where you feel comfortable saying, you know what? I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy with the choices that I'm making. I'm happy with how I look. And there could be bad hair days and there could be good hair days. And I may have a pimple once in a while, but you know what? It's okay. It's okay. And I'm shocked at how many people don't share that view. Now that I'm becoming the social media expert, but I'm exploring social media.
You're getting there, right?
You know what? It's a lot of fun. It could be addictive, so watch it. But I guess what I'm saying is I'm seeing real time interaction with people like us, regular, ordinary people that exist, and their views and their attitudes. And there was one site, as an example, that had over 200,000 followers, which for me, that's whoa, for other people, for celebrities, they're like, is that it? Anyway, 200,000 followers. And the theme of what they're following is basically, in a nutshell, a disgruntled woman who doesn't trust men anymore. And all the sayings are about, remember when you left me, I'll never forget. And even if you called me begging for to come back, I'll always remember what you did to me. And, I was going to comment, but I didn't want 200,000 people hating me. So I stopped. But my point is, they're dwelling on a negative. Yes. Instead of saying, learn from something and move on and be comfortable with who you are, instead of trying to always go back and have the last word. And I think that happens a lot of times. We get caught in this trap where, we're doing better, we're feeling better, we become successful, we become famous. And the first instinct is not to appreciate what got you there and remember where you came from. The first instinct is to go back and show up to all those people in your past that didn't believe you or didn't support you or didn't like you. And I think that's just wrong. I think that's just wrong. You're dwelling on the past and you're trying to change people's minds. Does it matter?
No,
I don't think it does.
You won't anyway. You won't. How are you going to change their minds, and why do you want to? It's in the past.
But people get caught up in that. They get consumed. And I'm saying this now because I've taken control of some of my social sites, so I don't have people doing them. I'm doing it myself. And I was like, I'm going to learn about this social stuff, and I'm just going to spend like an hour a day on it. But spending an hour a day, you read all these posts and you start seeing that the undertones are quite negative. And the undertones are like a lot of low self-esteem out there, low image of themselves.
Right.
And it just floors. Right. It's not bad. I'm not making fun of, these people or these sites. It's just that I didn't realize because I don't notice things like that. I didn't realize what a large percentage of people harbor negativity, self-doubt, and where they don't feel good about themselves. It's amazing.
Yes.
Have you found that
Yes.
too? I mean,
Yes.
you on social? You're probably on social more than I am. But
I don't have a large following either, but I've noticed it.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. And I think it builds in a lot of fear of judgment. I think fear of judgment is huge, where people are so afraid of, what will people say? What will people think? And at the end of the day, no one really cares. Everyone's so involved in their own little lives that most of the time, they don't even notice what's happening around them, right? Which is very sad on a lot of levels, because we miss out on so many opportunities, interacting with people, and that's amazing. I mean, you love that kind of thing, right? That interaction.
I love it.
Is amazing. You just yesterday, I decided, oh, you know what? I'm taking the afternoon off, and I went to the beach and I ate ice cream, and I just had a good day, right? And my happy place. And I have a friend who owns a rock shop. I love going there. So I went past and I just went, and she wasn't there, but she had another girl working there. And we just started chatting. And we started chatting about how she's a musician. And I mean, I don't know, I've seen her before, but I haven't. And she's a musician, and she's got a band. And it was so exciting because we found that common connection. And from there, we can, we started speaking about possible collaborations. But it's not only that, it's just that connection that is so cool. So it was a good day. Whereas a lot of times I just sit behind my computer and just work. So you need that connection, and it makes a difference, because afterwards I got home and I was good. I was pumped. I was excited, except for the sugar rush, but that was good too. It was a good day. So we should do more of that and actually stop looking at our phones and connect. And then you feel better about yourself as well, right?
I agree. I mean, looking at your phone, I mean, look, the technology is there, and I'm not going to keep harping on it. People are probably sick of hearing me acting like an old victim. But technology is great, but let's not forget the thing that we all crave is interaction. Okay. I know everybody wants to be liked, and I know everybody's worried about judgment and stuff like that. But if you just, for one day, didn't care what you looked like or what you said or how you acted or what people may think, and you just go outside and just interact with normal, everyday people from all walks of life, strangers, really.
Yes.
You'll find that the littlest interaction makes you feel good. And the comments that you make them feel good too. I mean, you'll be amazed. I mean, I'm in this little town right now, Carina, and I'm still new to the area, but I will tell you that on my daily circles of errands and things like that, people know me. They're like, oh, your usual. Oh, are you gonna get two waters or one? And it's amazing. It's just a friendly little town that you can make great contacts with. Now, I don't go home and say, oh my God, I made a friend. He's my best friend. She's my best friend. But at the same time, it does make you feel good. You have to get away from the computer sometimes. You have to get away from work. You have to get away from your phone. The world will still be fine without you being in the middle of it for a few minutes or a few hours. Trust me. It'll still be there.
Yeah.
But you have to do some stuff to make yourself feel good and to put yourself first. Okay. So back to the mirror. Okay. So, when I felt the ugliest, and I don't mean vanity wise, but ugly inside, was when I couldn't stop consuming alcohol. And I was home and I was still working, but most of the times it was just, I mean, who's going to say anything to me? I mean, I won't have a meeting in person. We'll do it on the phone. But, you know, you feel bad about that. You know why you're not meeting in person. You know, because you look horrible. But I looked horrible, but I felt worse, even worse inside. And I didn't really like mirrors. I mean, you see just a blotchy face. There were almost like windburn, cheeks, which is typical of an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I mean, my body's all bloated. My pants won't button, normal things that people look at and it just kind of destroys their day. But, I'm looking at it like I hate myself. Look at what I've become. And I know I could do better. Right. And so as confidence started coming back, I don't love the mirror like, oh, look at how pretty I am or anything. But it's okay to look at yourself, a little bit. It's okay to watch yourself comb your hair or whatever you do. I mean, that's okay. Just don't overdo it and just go overboard. I mean, I guess there's moderation in everything, right? And I think people take it to the extreme. Like, I could be doing this as we're talking, and that's crazy. But it's easy to do. It's easy to just get swayed. And so you got to always be grounded and feel comfortable with yourself. How do you do that? How do you gain confidence? It's just like making yourself feel good first, loving yourself, no matter who you are, and at all times. Because we've all been there. And we're all going to be there, and it's okay.
Right. But what I'm saying is that people say, love yourself. It's like, love yourself first, love yourself before you love anybody else and all that. So then you get the love of your life or whatever into your life or whatever it is. It's all very easy to say, right? But how do you do it?
Yeah. Well, I can only say what happened to me, and I'll use a real example. I think I talked a little bit about this in the past, but I'll go ahead and say it now. So I got clean and sober for me. And I know a lot of people say that, okay, but do they really mean it? This was the first time in my life that I put myself first because I'm inherently a provider. I take care of family. I could be old fashioned, but when the man does this, the man's, and it's not like my wife shouldn't work, but if she wants to, great. If she doesn't, you know what I mean? It's that old Greek thing. But anyway, that aside,
it's okay.
This is the first time that I did something for me first. And I didn't care about what people thought. I didn't even want to ask their opinion. I just did it for me. If you ask my brother, and my sister-in-law, they thought when I went into rehab, nobody could reach me. They thought that I was dead. I mean, seriously, they thought I died. Nobody could find me. Nobody knew where I went.
Wow.
That's how much I didn't care about anybody, any external influence. And I did it for me. For the first time, I loved my inner self most first, okay? When I got out, I knew that obviously, if you fall or you scratch your arm or you cut yourself, you have to heal. The same thing happens when you come out and you're clean and sober. It's a different world. You have to heal. Some people do it where they plunge right back in. I, for whatever guiding voice inside, said, no, that's probably not a good idea. So in essence, I isolated myself to heal. Now, was it excruciating? Was it boring? Yes. But in that healing time, I started preparing myself. Now, why am I saying this? Because, I mentioned this, my mother and my father's passed. That's when I went off the rails big time. But after my father's passing, I stopped talking to even my mother, my family, my friends, my associates, everybody. And my mother is diagnosed with, it's not Parkinson's, but it's basically Parkinson's on steroids, okay? It's rapid deterioration to the point where it's terminal. I mean, there's no cure. And she's been suffering for years with this, but keep in mind, for years, I've kind of been isolated on purpose because I'm loving myself first, not selfishly, but got to prepare yourself.
Yes.
So when I felt that I was ready, one of the reasons why I moved and came out here was to be closer to my mother. Was it scary seeing her for the first time? Absolutely. But in my head, I knew that for the first time in a very long time, I could handle it. I don't think, had I just gotten out clean and sober and went to see her, I'd be able to handle that, right? So that's what I mean by knowing yourself. So I went and saw her, and I remember obviously the mother that walked and talked and interacted and smiled and all that.
Right.
What I saw was somebody who was bedridden, who could barely speak. She can't move anymore. She can't even feed herself. She can't even drink out of a straw. You have to kind of put the, so and I know that's sad. And I know, like, I'm not playing it off like, oh, look at me, I'm so cool, like nothing affects me. But I will honestly tell you that I am fully prepared mentally and physically to accept the outcome, okay? And love her for the time she has left, which is weeks. It's not months. It's not years anymore.
Yes.
Had I not been clean and sober, I would never have been able to care for her now in her time of need. Like right after this, I'm going there for lunch to feed her. I feed her baby food. That's the only thing she could put. But I'll crack a joke and you could see she doesn't laugh, but her mouth will move. That's a sign like she's laughing. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, this could have been devastating for me. Yes. So when I'm responding to a comment like love yourself first, it's not in the vanity sense, right? It's not in the sociopathic kind of thing. It's love yourself first, because if I don't take care of me first, there's no way I'd be able to care for my mother or give her love or give anybody love for that.
Exactly.
Yet people who haven't achieved the love yourself first theory will not hesitate to give advice to other people at the drop of a hat. And so I just keep thinking, as much as they think they're helping, what help can somebody give you if they themselves have a low self-esteem of themselves? It's like, don't you know you're beautiful? Don't you know, but deep down inside, they're the ones suffering from low self-esteem who can't see themselves in the mirror. So that's what I mean by love yourself first. And it took me a while to figure that out. And you're right. On social media, you'll always see people put yourself first, love yourself first. And people are like, what do you mean by that? You're an egomaniac. Right. That's not what I'm talking about. So, one of the proudest things that I have done coming back and snapping out of my funk is being able to be a true provider, a true leader, a true caregiver who gives genuine love. And it's not fake. I'm not insecure about who I am anymore. I'm very, very confident, very secure. And once you get that, then you walk with an air of confidence that is just so damn attractive to a crowded room. And it's hard to explain. That helps you in your personal life. That helps you in your business life. That helps you with entrepreneurial startups. It helps everything. It's not just one thing. It helps everything.
Right.
How do you get this stuff? I'll give you my phone number. I have bottles of it, and I'll sell it.
You?
No, I mean, no.
And you only have special people that you sell it to, right?
Yeah, all these special people. The secret is there is no secret. It just takes hard work, just like exercise, just like reading, just like going to college and exercising your brain. This self-confidence that I'm talking about takes exercise. And what do I mean by that? Exercise via experience. Don't be afraid to try things. Don't be afraid to look dumb. Don't be afraid to look embarrassed. Don't be afraid to feel insecure. These are all the things that if you dabble in and you start getting used to them, your body is an amazing thing. Your mind is an amazing thing. It adjusts and becomes more efficient with every new experience you're given. Right. And so what seems terrifying in the beginning seems almost matter-of-factly after you've experienced the same feeling over and over again. Your mind gets bored. It's like, give me something else to do now.
Exactly.
Because this is just too easy. But if you exercise all of those emotions and all of those facets, you will start feeling real confidence, real security that, hey, you know what? I can handle most anything. And the things I can't handle initially, I'll learn to be able to handle. Mm-hmm. That's confidence. That's priceless. You can't buy that in a store. No. You can't read that in a book. You have to do it and experience it.
Exactly, I love that. But a thing that I've always thought about and done is, you fail. You do things, you fail, or you speak to someone and they say something to you and it triggers you and you get upset. Go back and see why that happens. Go back and look at yourself and say, why did whoever said that upset me? What is it within me? And that's why we'll bring back the mirror again. When a lot of times you have the mirrors in front of you, right? And people say things and they're really reflecting.
Here it comes. You're
really reflecting.
You're good. So the mirror is not your current reflection, but the mirror might be the mirror to your soul.
Right.
Soul searching.
Looking
at
yourself.
See,
but you see this.
Me again. No, that's good.
Like you will go back to that group that you belong to, with a woman that whatever. A lot of times you carry this rotten food in a bag, right, around with you. Wherever you go, you carry this rotten food. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. But people carry it around. And they don't... There's a theory which works. You always attract the same people into your life. And I'd like to ask you, because you've been married 3 times, right? It's just...
Thank you.
No, I didn't mean it that way. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm wondering if your 3 wives were similar. Because what happens is you always attract the same people in your life until you grow and you change. And then that person, you aren't attracted to that person, and that person's not attracted to you anymore. So what happens is you have the same kind of personality coming to you all the time until you change. The names change. So it may be John, Jack, Joe, whatever. But John, Jack, Joe are all the same kind of people. They have the same kind of personality. They have you go through the same kind of relationship.
I mean, there's obviously a lot of commonalities, obviously, with all 3, right? But there's vast marked differences with all 3 as well. So it's kind of hard to kind of generalize, like you're saying, you're attracted always to the same person. And when I mean attraction, let's get off the physical thing. It's just the other attributes as well. In all 3 cases, it was probably me, in retrospect, that ruined everything. But I ruined it because I was self-absorbed. I was a workaholic. I was also an alcoholic. And that's pretty hard to live with. I'm also an alpha type. As you haven't noticed, I have a strong opinion and personality. And it's kind of hard.
And you're very competitive.
Yes. So it's kind of hard to compete with that. I mean, and most times people find that they're living in someone else's shadow. And I'm pretty sure many times my ex-wives probably felt like that. Not because they're not capable, but it's just, I would steal the oxygen in the room where there's, nothing left to shine. But they were all different. I mean, the difference between the second one and the third one, as an example, was the second one was just good, wholesome, religious. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I got to find somebody good, whatever that means, right? The other one was almost not complete opposite, but, different attributes, just very into business, very fast thinking, entrepreneur-like, very stunning, had her own aura and stuff like that. And that turned into a train wreck as well, because a lot of times we would start talking about ideas and work at night, and then add alcohol, and then these things become arguments. Well, you don't know what you're talking about. I do know what I'm talking about. Look, it's not your company, it's mine, so back up. It's that kind of stuff. So they're different. It's just that maybe I've become different. I've always been confident. I've always had this competitiveness. I've always had this aura, like we've talked about, but amplified being clean and sober. It's just a completely different world. So things that have bothered me in the past are minuscule now. They don't bother me. Things that I thought were important in the past are not really that important to me in the long run. And I'm getting older too. So I've built up this wisdom. I've built up experience. I mean, it's just different. And all these things that I mentioned have accelerated in my life exponentially. It's almost like wisdom on steroids, only because I was fearless and I did so many things throughout my life and started so early in life that I have a jump on a lot of people who can't possibly understand what I've gone through or what I've experienced. And you have to do it yourself. But, in relationships, back to your point about the ex-wives, it's really hard to share that commonality when you have all this and they haven't experienced that. You know what I mean? And so for me, it didn't work. Okay. I'm not going to say that all relationships don't work, but for me, it didn't work. And that, that's part of life too.
Yes, of course. You learn from it, you move on. But you're different now anyway. So even though you'd experienced all that, now it's different, Dino. Because you're taking things from a sober, clean point of view. I mean, alcohol, to live with an alcoholic is to live it's like living with a madman. It's like living with a crazy person, right?
You've had experience. Yeah.
I've had experience. My ex-late husband used to drink a bottle of wine a night. And it's like, so all those emotions, the jealousy, it's just insane. It's really like living with a crazy person. So that, of course, influences and affects the relationship.
Absolutely. Imagine if you were drinking too. It would be just explosive. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I think it comes from, insecurity a lot of times, and these little hidden thoughts that you never want to share. When you have alcohol, it's kind of like truth serum. So you don't mean what you say, but there's 80% truth to everything people say, regardless. And it hurts. It stings, when you hear it, especially, and it sucks when the next day they can't remember what they said to you. So they're absolved of all guilt, but it's still in your head. You're just like, well, how do you take this one back? So I get it. It's very, very difficult. But drinking is also an insecurity. It is a disease. It does stem from a lot of things, but it is part of it is insecurity, right?
Yes.
So you feel more brave when you're drinking. You can conquer the world when you're drinking.
Of
That's
course.
at least what you think. Right. So what we're talking about is not just specific to drugs and alcohol. We're talking about self-image equals insecurity. That could be to a very sober person. I mean, there are bulimics, there are people who are anorexic. There's all kinds of image related things, all based on your original statement. How do you feel when you look at yourself in the mirror? Right. And this is a big issue, I think, especially with young people that take to the gospel what exists on the internet or on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, TikTok, whatever they do now. But you see what I'm saying? I mean, just like they're just words. These people don't know you, but they'll take these statements to heart. So much so that it affects their day, it affects their self-image, it affects everything. I mean, a lot of people kill themselves because of just simply what somebody's saying about them, some rant.
I know. It's become
sad.
It's become very sad. So yes, the opinion of others has become tantamount to living, right? So everyone's
Right.
opinion counts, and the competition as well. So a lot of people it's another thing. We go back to this singer that I met yesterday, and she kept saying, like, I'm going out and I'm looking at Instagram and I'm looking at all the other singers, and songwriters or whatever they are. And I mean, she plays here, she plays in San Diego, so she's she's got a bit of a following. And she's saying, like, there's a lot of other women that do this, and the one does this and the other does that. Then I keep self-doubting myself and thinking, you know what, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that. And that's what happens all the time. So if you've got the self-confidence and the self-assurance and you love yourself, you know that there isn't any competition out there. There cannot be competition. There's no other Dino Miliotis, right? So even if you do business, there's a lot of business coaches and business strategists. They don't do Dino Miliotis the way you do it. They can't.
No.
So there is no competition. And if people realize that as well, and they realize that there's a lot of people that deal with fear, but they don't deal with fear the way I do, because no one's me.
Right.
And if you can tap into that, that is powerful as well.
It is. I mean, and just a recent scenario, just to kind of touch on what you were saying. There's a company that I'm helping, and there's several partners in the company, and it didn't take long at all for these people to come to me and ask for advice. Then all of a sudden, typical, the advice that they want comes separately, and then their feelings start. I mean, I keep telling my brother, I feel like a priest sometimes, because it's a confessional. People automatically just, tell me stuff. And, I'm flattered, but at the same time, I just never realized with eyes wide open that people are so insecure about their standing or position in a company. They constantly think, like on top of their top 10 list, number 1, 2, or 3 is getting fired. I never worried about getting fired. It was just never even a thought in my head. But if you look outside yourself and you just kind of look around, take a deep breath, and you're just like, wow, there's a lot of people that worry about getting fired. And I'm asking why. Do you not feel you're doing a good job? Do you think that little of yourself, that you don't think you're contributing? Do you not think that you're being admired or respected or whatever it is that makes you feel good? It's hard to pinpoint where that comes from, but it has a lot to do with what you're saying, right?
But a lot of times people, maybe they know they're going to be fired because they're not pulling their weight. The work ethic isn't there, right? But on the other hand...
These are good people. These are people that are doing good. They're doing good.
So
why are you...
Yeah, it's probably a self-confidence thing. And imagine going to work, waking up every morning with this thing in your head saying, you know what, I'm going to be fired. It must be the worst way to live.
Can't imagine.
So you wake up every morning,
right? And then worrying about that is not a sincere relationship with your employer either.
No,
these are the people that, throughout my experience in my career, are the people that will tell you what you want to hear.
Yes.
In order to live another day. And I'm going to use the word hate. I hate that because, just tell me what you're feeling. Tell me what you think. Tell me an idea. You're not going to get fired unless you're doing something so completely crazy. You already know you're going to get fired. I mean, you think like people, it's a surprise to most people when they get fired. What? Me? You know, or you should know anyway. But it's when you're paying employees and they're making money with you, and you obviously run a business because you want to put food on the table and you want to be successful and you have a goal, but also you are enjoying putting people to work and having a following and employing people. Right. That said, you expect these employees to be sincere. I don't expect everybody to absolutely think this is the greatest job in the world, but when you're there, I mean, at least enjoy it. But if you keep thinking you're fired, you'll never have a sincere conversation with me. You'll always twist it so that it's something I want to hear. And I wasn't the type of employer that would just like buy a statement at face value. You know. So I would keep probing with questions. I can't tell you how many people I actually got just through normal questions, not adversarial, to say, you know what, this really isn't for me. And then I'd help them find another position with somebody else, maybe my competition, or maybe some of the contacts that I have, not with me. That is, you know, trying to put the right person in the right place instead of trying to convince them why they should love this job or why they're doing a great job or, you know, all these other things that people do. Right. So you poked the nerve, and I had to respond to that. But anyway, that's from real experience, and it just floors me.
Yes. But a lot of people do that, and you see also on social media as well as people like, oh, I hate this job, But on the other hand, a lot of people are screaming about passion. Find your passion. How do you do that? How do you know what you're passionate about until you start doing it, right?
Right. That's right. You won't know until you try different things, right? But I mean, again, that comes from experience, right? Find your passion. You can find your passion being the lowest employee on the totem pole working for a company, because you never know what you're going to see or hear, right? And then that might prompt you to go off on your own or go to a different company or find investors or who knows what. I mean, the sky's the limit. So just because you're an employee at a company doesn't mean that you're working at a dead-end job. Everything that company does and says and everything that company promotes can be fuel for you to find your passion. You just don't know it. So when people think find your passion, they think like almost like naming a baby, where you open up a book and it's like, if it's a boy, here's all the names that we have. It doesn't work like that. Or where people were telling me, oh, you invented bug ban. I wish I invented something like that. I mean, let me think. There's got to be. It doesn't come like that. It doesn't. It's just being at the weirdest place at the weirdest time with eyes wide open and an imagination that's open to receive, and it'll hit you. Yes, it's not hard, but people think it's hard.
Well, so, it's a bit about. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. It's a bit about having a mind that's closed and a mind that's open. So again, you have to start working on yourself all the time and realize that it's not about that one relationship or that one person. I know I keep harping on that because it's just that one relationship that didn't work, right? It's about learning from that and looking around and seeing that there are other opportunities, and you must be resourceful with what you've got and who you are and stand in your power.
Right. And being open, back to relationships. Are you the person that will avoid a confrontation or a disagreement, or let's say even a fight? You'll avoid it or just say what the other wants to hear just to avoid the fight? Or are you able, through your convictions and your beliefs, to sit down, and I'm not saying a fight, but to sit down and have a discussion and say, no, this is how I feel, or I need to tell you something, or let's talk about this. A lot of people won't do that. They just feel that it's easier just to avoid an uncomfortable situation. Here we go again with comfort zones, to avoid uncomfortable situation rather than get into it. And, I'm guilty of that too. I mean, there was times where I've had disagreements. They happened to be at 1:00 in the morning, and the significant other was like, okay, I'm leaving. And because it's 1:00 in the morning, I diffused the situation because, of course, I don't want somebody leaving at 1:00 in the morning and it's dark and it's not safe and all these other things. It's kind of shallow, right? But I chose to sweep it under the rug, right? There's little things that you'll see throughout a relationship that you choose to sweep under the rug. And then these little speckles of dust turn into just a pile of dirt.
Right.
It gets to the point where you can't even say H and hello. And people are like, what are you talking about? I mean, it's just, there's less to talk about. There's more to argue about. And that's just not the way. So I found that, there are people that are not going to get what I say or think or how I act. But I got to just say, this is me. This is the whole package. This is what you get. And if you don't like it, tell me now. Because it's dishonest to the person to think that they could change me. It's also foolish of me to think that I can change them, right? There's improvements that we all do. There's aspiring to be better every day. That's not what I'm talking about. But to sit there and say, well, they believe this, let me change it. You're not going to do that. So all you're doing is just inviting confrontation and conflict and insecurities to the point where, what got you together, you've forgotten about. And all you see is that hostility. Again, you can't look as a couple. Can you look at yourself in the mirror? A lot of people can't, but they choose to be married because it's more comfortable than divorcing, because it's complicated and it's ugly and it's got finances involved and it's got people, what do they think? And, you got kids, what will the kids think? Trust me, the kids are the first to know, okay? So couples staying together, for the kids already know. They're just basically appeasing the parents by just saying, well, you know what, this is what they do. It's kind of sad, but this all comes down to your initial thing that you were talking about, which is, your reflection in the mirror. Can you stand looking at yourself or not?
Right. And I just wanted to make a note of this thing of people staying together for the children is the worst, because you're destroying those children by keeping them in this horrible environment. And I don't believe it when people say that. I think it's a cop-out, and that's my opinion. I think it's a cop-out, and it's easier. It's easier to stay in that confrontation and in that horrible environment because it's hard to walk away from the status quo. It's hard to start a new life. It's hard to go out and not be in this drama, because a lot of people, they thrive on drama. That's what keeps them alive.
That's what we talked about last week, right? And the circle thing. And that's wrong, and that's why I was saying that that social post, which is basically hundreds of thousands of people following man bashers, I'll never trust again. So I sent something to them and I said, trust but verify, which I got just a ton of hate mail. Wasn't the right group to do it with. But this idea that I don't believe there are good people out there. I don't believe I could trust anybody, so I'm never trusting somebody again. These are all fallacies. They may make you feel good now, and you could get that kumbaya group that's going to follow you off a cliff. But at the end of the day, you have to believe that there's more good in the world than there are bad. And instead of catering to the minority, we must cater to the majority, which we're part of. But we're all focused on you hate this? Me too. Again, you got to have your own opinion. So if you're not willing to trust, if you're not willing to try, if you're not willing to love, if you're not willing to, do all the things that come with it, if you don't think they're good people anymore, then, you've just pretty much amounted to a hater that's going to stay home most of the time, possibly in their closet, and not interact with the world. And that's a very bitter place to be. It's sad, too.
It's a very sad place to be. But, well, I think we need to just change it a bit. That's not a nice place to end this episode.
No, it's deep.
It's too down.
It's deep.
But
well, you started it again. But this is a good subject, because I think that all of us suffer from self-esteem. Low self-esteem from time to time. And, it's just like everything else that we talk about. It's a state of mind that you can snap out of. Some people can snap out of it in seconds or minutes. Some people, it'll take a little longer. There's no right way to do this, but just the belief that it can be done should be reassuring to whoever's listening, who's maybe suffering from time to time from that exact thing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's happened to me. I'm sure, Carina, it's happened to you.
Oh, yes.
It's happened to everybody watching, and it's okay. It's normal, but, we're discussing moving on kind of things, and I hope people get that. So it's not a negative subject, like you're saying.
No,
I mean, it's again, I mean, if we just talked about bubblegum stuff all the time, I don't think it'd be a good show. But, we talk about uncomfortable issues that maybe some people think but don't say. And it's different people following us, and it's different following Instagram. I mean, we have names, we have faces, we're interacting, and we're talking like regular people to regular people. And I think that's important to remember.
It is.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dino. Well, on that note.
BreakFear, Find freedom.
Yes, awesome. Yeah. Thank you. So on that note, thank you everyone for listening. And remember to subscribe. Remember to share it with your friends, because this is good conversation, right? Oops, we must do it this way.
I think so. We'll find out.
Right. And remember to check out my awesome editor as well, the Stoned Horror production. And anything that you'd like to say, Dino, before we leave?
Yeah, post your Facebook group so people can get on and join.
Oh, yes.
You and I have a ball on it, but we need more participants. So I'm not embarrassed or ashamed to say, join us. And, we talk about things. I'm good at social now a little bit, so I can answer things, and then that'll be fun.
Yes, thank you. And we'll join the Facebook group, because we're going to start doing some fun stuff like Q&A with Dino. And we've got some other things planned as well. So join us. I'll have all the links at the bottom. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dino. This was a very awesome conversation again. Oh, I need to change my word here. And we'll see you next week.
Okay, thank you. Bye,
guys. Thank you, everyone. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us on this week's adventure. And I look forward to seeing you again. Please comment, like, subscribe, and share with your friends if you thought this was amazing. Remember, if you need any additional resources, just check them out in the description box below. Have an amazing week, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks again. Bye for now.